Hello, everybody. Well, welcome to Visionary Voices. I have an extra special guest with me today, World Explorer, Grand Slam champion, Lei Wang. She is an amazing woman, a good friend, a business coach, a leadership coach, a keynote speaker, and somebody that is an inspiration for all of us. I think you're going to get a lot out of this interview. Lei is just chocked with information. Lei, we are going to ask you to tell a little bit about yourself, but before that, really, I want to just say you are the very first person that I know that achieved the Explorer's Grand Slam. Would you tell us real quickly what that is, Lei?
Thank you, Patty. So Explorer's Grand Slam means you climb the seven summits, that is the highest mountain on each of the seven continents, and also you ski to the North Pole and the South Pole. So by the time I finished in 2010, there were probably only about a dozen people in the world that completed before me. So I was the first Asian woman, first Asian American to accomplish that.
Incredible, amazing, amazing, and probably one of very few women too, right? I mean, it's not every day you see the trekkers and out there. Hey Lei, let's begin. Let's just jump right in with one of your most defining moments. Standing on the summit of Mount Everest, how did this incredible achievement inspire the core message for your new keynote speech, Mighty Mouse Power, playing big in a world that sees you small?
Wow, you just jumped right in. Thank you, Patty. Yeah, so that moment actually it's kind of weird. Like a lot of people think you'll be excited to jump up and down. For me, it's a very thought-provoking moment because I realize for someone like me who had no athletic background until in my 30s, who grew up in Beijing as a pure city girl, who followed the traditional educational path and the corporate career path to become an athlete later in life, is beyond what I was able to imagine when I started out.
I
And
guess.
it's not about your skill, about your physical strength, or about any of the talents. It's all about your mindset, your mental strength. So that I feel for many people who they were inhibited by maybe their size or their background or whatever limit they see, actually they have the power to break through that, to play big, no matter where you start.
Wow. Wow. How long did it take from the time that you first started training for a serious ascent till the time that you completed the seven summits and the two poles?
Well, I first had this daydream, literally I called it daydream in 2004, that I thought, oh, maybe someone like me, what if someone like me can go climb Mount Everest? And I literally started a daydream because I said, I need something to motivate myself to go to the gym. I need to start to do something about my health. Little beyond what I was able to imagine 6 years later, in 2010, I was standing on top of Mount Everest.
Fabulous, fabulous. So that was the first giant mountain. I mean, you climb many practice mountains and things like that. Was that the first summit from the seven summits, Mount Everest for you?
No, so actually, Everest is the last one among the seven summits.
Okay, okay. So 6 years.
Right. I
Incredible.
start with zero foundations, remember? Because I had no athletic background. So, all right, I need to learn. I was living in Boston at that time. So I said, okay, I need to start to learn how to go outside Boston, go to White Mountains to learn hiking. How do I learn to be able to camp outside? So I started from very basic things, but I was very diligent. I was out every weekend learning, practicing. So over the course of 6 years, I've been very systematically climbing smaller mountains, then bigger mountains, gradually build up my capacity to climb Everest.
Incredible, incredible. Well, you were living in Boston. Boston's kind of a technology hub, education, academic hub, and a place where people with finance. Tell us just a little bit about your more traditional. You were raised as a city girl in Beijing. Tell us a little bit about your youth and your education, and then I'll ask some more questions about your career.
Sure. So for my youth, I was a perfect student. I was the best student in class, but I was struggling one in PE class. I could barely
Oh,
800 meters in the PE class.
hmm.
And then later years, I was always excel in exams, going to the best school I can get to, and then of course try to get the best job I can get to. So at that time, when I was in Boston, I was working in investment management jobs. So I'm working 12
Hmm.
hours a day, really hard.
Hmm.
That's why I said, oh, maybe I need to do something about my health. That's how I started this daydream.
Mm, 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 mm. What do you think sparked this transformation? Uh, and how has it really shaped who you are today, Lee?
Yeah, so at that time, as I mentioned, I was concerned about my health. I feel like I need to do something to improve my health. And then happened there was a documentary movie about mountaineering. So that's
Uh-huh.
just gave me the spark that, oh, what if I set a lofty dream, say I'll go climb Mount Everest so I can motivate myself to go to the gym regularly. So that's how everything started. And luckily for me was once I had a daydream, I made it a goal. So I start to, because I had an engineering background, I was trained in computer science first. So I have a very analytical mind. So all right, I have this lofty daydream. If I set it a goal, let's make a plan. So I backward, all right, if I want to climb Everest, what other mountains I need to climb? What other skills I need to gain? What program I need to attend or to train? So I made a program for myself. Start with, all right, I'm going to learn introduction to climbing. I'm going to learn introduction to camping. I'm going to learn how to hike the most basic trails. So I just started very systematically following my own plan of this is what I'm going to learn at this timeline. I'm going to learn this skill.
Wow. Wow. It's so impressive. You know, there are some women who have just done some absolutely extraordinary things. I watched the movie about the story of Diana Nyad swimming from Cuba to Florida and all of that, what it took for her, right? And I think you are in that same category, Lee. If this was an Olympic sport, you'd be a gold medalist, and it's amazing and it's so wonderful to have you as a friend and a colleague. You can tell by what you're telling us right now that you are a great strategist. You think about reverse engineering and what are the steps that are going to take you to build a solid foundation before you can climb up to that next mountain and before you could go to Mount Everest. Now, I met you right after you had a horrific experience on Mount Hood. Um, You've encountered so many life-threatening situations, but like the time you survived that 20-hour frozen in the spot rescue on Mount Hood, what did these experiences teach you, and how does that influence the way you approach challenges today, Lee?
Yeah, so what I learned is no matter what kind of challenge you face, maybe apparently you think you need the skills, you need the strength, you need the resource, but come to the bottom line, it's all about mental strength, about the mindset. So most important thing is we have to try to draw resource from within ourselves. Focus on how to solve the problem instead of asking question if, oh, what if, or why. So stop asking if, stop asking why, focus on how. Just what do I need to do to get from this point A to point B? Then the build up that focus your mental energy on that, then unbelievable results can happen.
Yes, yes. Well, you speak quite a bit about excitement driving success, and you talk also about dreams or daydreams turning into goals. Can you share an example from your adventures where this excitement played a crucial role and how it feeds into your broader mission? As you told me, the new TED stage or keynote speaking is one of your new Everests, right? It's one of your new summits. So talk a little bit about that and give us some examples from your adventures.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. This is a very good question. So one thing I want to clarify is the excitement I'm talking about is not the normal people say, I'm so excited jumping up and down. The excitement comes from within ourselves. So let me just give you an example of a moment on Everest. So halfway through the expedition, I fell sick. I got a severe lung infection. Doctors sent me off the mountain to a village to recover. And while I was just lying down there, taking medicine, sleeping, resting, that's all I could do. One of my
Mm.
teammates stopped by and she came to say, Lei, I come to say goodbye. And I thought, oh my God, is my team kicking me out?
Oh.
Lei, I don't feel well enough. I'm going home. I was shocked because for me at that point, everyone seeing me as not only the smallest one on the team, but also the weakest and the slowest. And also now you fell sick. So my chance of summiting was very low. And after I sent off that teammates, next day another teammates came by to say goodbye. So every day on the mountain, I was facing the question, should I stay or should I go? And I was trying to understand why those stronger, more experienced climbers would quit. So, I mean, this is a dream you have been working towards all your life. For many people, it's a lifetime dream. Why would you give up so easily?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That made me think about what it really is a goal of climbing this mountain. It's about going to the summit or it's something else. And that's come to the realization that what is truly exciting for us, if we think deeper, is not about that summit, about that reward, about that goal. It's about who we become. So for me, I started on this journey. It's about proving an ordinary person like me, who has no athletic background, can climb something like Everest. So for people who consider themselves just average, consider themselves small, they can achieve something big. It's not about that goal. It's about how hard you need to push, how far you can push. It's this in this process who you become, how you grow. That is the most exciting part. So for me, at that point, I was thinking, I don't really care if I go to the summit or not, because frankly, I don't know if I can. But I want to prove how far I can go on this mountain. I want to
Mm.
how high an ordinary person can go on this mountain. So that was what was driving me. That was what making me feel so excited about this journey. It's about showing the world what you can do by making your best effort. It's about your personal growth. It's not about summit, reward, title. It's not about any of those things.
About setting internal goals and then proving to yourself or being curious about yourself, what you can do, how far you can go, how you can stretch yourself. Well, I'll tell you, my body just kind of gets I get goosebumps when I think about what you've done, and I think what an inspiration you are. I'd love to go on a hike with you sometime. Not a mountain, but a hike. I want to go on a hike. So you wrote the book After the Summit, and I've loved it. I've given it to clients and friends, and tell me a little bit more about why you wrote the book and what you feel the two or three key messages in this book are. And if people, if also if people want to buy the book, you give your website, tell us where they can buy the book, and then tell us a little bit more about why you wrote it and what the key takeaways from the book are going to be for them.
Thank you, Patty. Well, the first question is easy. So to find my book, go to my website, mightymouthspeaker.com, and you're going to find there's a menu called the books. You can find my books there. And
Okay.
why I wrote the book, it's an interesting question. So at beginning, I was hesitating about writing a book because I felt like I don't want to brag about myself, like, oh, I don't need to show off anything. But later on, as I was coaching people, helping other people to build their business, I learned when you're withholding what you know not to share with the world, it's a very selfish action. It's sharing with the world what you learned. That's the most valuable thing you can contribute. That's the best legacy you can leave to this world. So that's why
Mm,
I'm going to share what I learned. And it's not about climbing mountains. This is about the how to apply those lessons I learned in our everyday life, our everyday business, or our career. So it's about a lot of time, the lessons one of the most important lesson is like failure. A lot of time we see failure as something negative, something we avoid. But I found a lot of successful people I interviewed or people I worked with, they are strong because they came from failure. They learned
mm,
from failure. Failure is the best teacher we can have. It's about how you can face failure courageously and how do you get up with a good strategy. How do you come back? How do you leverage that experience to make you stronger? So this is one of the fundamental shift in mindset I gained from the climbing. A lot of time we see our weakness, our shortcoming, our failure, or any situation as it come up as a challenge. But if we shift our mindset, instead of seeing it as something, a challenge, just simply think, how? How can we solve this? How do we get up from this? How can we learn from this? How do we move forward from this? How do we solve this? Then there's nothing can be called a failure. Nothing can be called really a challenge or hurdle. Everything is just one of the thing on the road you need to get over in order to get to your destination.
beautiful, beautiful. I know one of your first chapters is learning to fail and understanding that. So it sounds like what you're saying is it's reframed. It's not a failure. It might be a setback, but it's a step. It's a step in the right direction. And those arduous steps are what's required for you to build the strength and stamina to sustainably climb that mountain and get yourself back down safely. What are some of the other key takeaways? You talked about the problem with SMART goals. And I talk about SMART goals all the time to my clients: specific, measurable, achievable, time dated, all of those parts. So tell me what you mean about the problem with SMART goals and how do you go beyond that when you're working with clients?
Yeah, so I would think SMART goal, what I'm framing it is how do you distinguish between a vision and a goal? So SMART goal is more concrete, a step in implementing your vision. So I want people to think beyond. SMART goal is I don't want you to be limited to what you can achieve. This is a step you can achieve, but you can achieve much more beyond that. So if you look beyond a SMART goal, you focus on your vision. Vision is something you cannot define so concretely like a SMART goal. That's something you may never can define to say, I achieved this, because that is something almost intangible that you can always go further. So when you have something you almost can attain, but you're probably never going to really attain, that is a tremendous driving force to push you to work hard, move forward, but you can never feel complacent. You can never say, I'll stop. So you'll be excited all the time. You can keep going, keep on having something exciting you look forward to. So that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Lee, some people may feel like, well, she can do it. She was an A student. She grew up in a highly disciplined, study-focused home. She got her MBA was it in finance? I mean, you really devoted yourself to professional excellence. What about the rest of us who feel like, oh, we're not quite that perfect, right? So how did you deal with setbacks and how what happened? You've got to get depressed sometimes, or maybe feeling frustrated. I know when you said you were in the tent and you saw these people coming to say goodbye to you, you assumed that they were saying goodbye because you were going to be asked to leave, but they were leaving. So what do you do? What are some practical tips that you have applied to yourself to get yourself to reframe setbacks and to keep that mindset so strongly? Because it's a lot easier said than it is done.
Yeah, it's very easy with it's just like we when we look into the mirror, we see our own freckles, we see our own imperfections in the mirror all the time. We see ourselves full of limits. But when we see other people, they are full of strengths. So can we just swap this viewpoint? Because the truth is everyone is a combination of both. For example, you mentioned I look perfect, right? But if you look at me as an athlete, I'm only 5'1". I have a short arm, short legs. If you see me go rock climbing, first thing you know, how would this person reach the heights? How would they be able to go up this? And you see me so small showing up the mountain and look at my backpack. I have to carry the same backpack as other big climbers for 50, 60 pounds of pack. For men, that's only maybe 1/3, 1/4 of their body weight. For me, that's half my body weight. You would wonder, oh, and I'm not saying even like other people literally on my trip, they were like, look at me. How would this little person going to be able to carry this backpack? Oh my God, we're going to have this person on our team. Like they all worried I'm going to drag down the team because I look so small to carry
Right.
the same load. So everyone, what you see as maybe your limitation, but the truth is you can also turn around to make it your strength. So because I was so small as a climber, I could like other top climbers, they can just reach their arm, grab it, they up. I have to make 3-4 moves before I can reach their first step. So that forced me to work on my techniques. So I was able to do harder, more technical moves better than those bigger climbers who don't need to make any effort. You can grab it. And for someone who is naturally big enough to carry the pack, they didn't need to train that hard. I have to train harder. That make me mentally stronger. That's why when I see the situations on the mountain, my mentally and I've been training so hard for me to be able to even reach this point. I already put in more effort than they did. So when I see the next hurdle coming up, I said, yeah, it just seems like the previous. I'm going to work equally hard. I'm going to get it. But for them, that might be the first time they were facing something so hard. So the advantage for me is I had to make more effort. That made me mentally stronger. That made me better adapted to handle a lot of challenges. So everyone has your limitation might be your strength. If you can just swap your position, look at it from the other angle, and see how this can become my strength, you're going to find a different way to move forward.
Now you're making me think of Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. You've heard that old story that Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, only she did it backwards and in high heels, right? So Lee, you did it. You did it. The one thing that you had was maybe an extra, or you didn't have an extra 50 or 100 pounds of body weight that some of the other taller climbers were having to lug around. In your book, and I'm looking here at the table of contents, you talk about understanding risks, and you've had big risks. So how do the lessons that you've learned with the risks, because you've told me before, and I've read it in your books, that getting to the top of the summit is only part of the journey, and actually the most difficult part could be the getting down safely part. So talk about risks and how your lessons that you've learned that way impact how you do business or how you advise business people.
Yeah, risk is a big topic in climbing and also in business. And risk is the reason why many people were held back by fear. They were not able to make the first step or frozen in spot, couldn't move forward. Because when they see the risk, they see, oh, something bad going to happen. What
Right.
if I fail? So then I cannot make my first step because I don't know if I can get all the way through. So the thing is, the risk is something inherent in everything we do. So we need to shift the mindset, not seeing risk as something we need to avoid. Risk is something we need to learn how to handle, because there's no free lunch, say, without risk in this life. Everything, there's something associated with it. You just need to learn how to handle it. And also we need to analyze, well, using my analytical mind. So risk, a lot of when we fear it, we're thinking about the consequence, thinking, oh, how bad things can go. But consequence doesn't mean the consequential. So how likely that's going to happen? What is the real consequential effect of that risk? So that you have to consider probability versus the effect. So a lot of time we exaggerated how likely that's going to happen, how bad that can be. That made us fear more about it. So if we be more analytical, understand, okay, how do I control the probability? What can I do? So that's a separate thing from the consequence of the risk. Then how do I limit the consequence of the risk? So for example, on the climbing, there's always a lot of things we cannot control. We don't know what's the weather, what's a storm, what's the avalanche, something going to happen. So how you manage that, the probability is you get more resource, more information, analyze previous historical information, analyze different sources of forecast, collect all the information. And that is try to reduce the probability. And then also there's, no matter how you manage, something going to happen at some point.
Right.
Then be how do you prepare in case that happens? So, all right, so if storm happen, where can I exit the climbing route? What's my retreat route? And if something happen, how do I make sure I can survive for another 3 days? What supply do I need to bring? And how do I manage to communicate with outside to get a rescue? So if you plan all those things, then you limit the consequence of when something happens, how you can manage the result. And of course, it's no perfect, right? There's no way I can make it say 0 probability, 0 consequence. But like everything in life, there's some probability, some consequence. So if you manage both sides to your best, then you say, all right, I did my best. And I know I can handle whatever I am able to handle. What is beyond my control is beyond my control. Why do I bother to worry about it? Everyone's going to face the same thing. So you have to move forward by making your best planning to manage the risk. And also a lot of times thinking about how you're going to recover after that. For example, for my climbing, I have to give up my career track to pursue climbing. Then the big question is, what if I fail, right? What if I didn't reach my climbing goal and I abandoned my career track? That's a big risk. Then will be, how do you want to recover from that? So I told myself, well, if I'm willing to work hard, and if I believe I'm smart, I can learn anything again. Then if I fail, I can just work hard, start again, put in the effort, learn from the starting point again. Then I can build my life back up. If you have that confidence, then you know, all right, even in case this is a bad decision, even if this is a mistake, I know I can recover. Then you have the confidence to go ahead.
Well, Lee, you are an absolutely extraordinary woman. You are not average in any way, even though you are inspirational to the rest of us mere mortals. But I know you're not an Olympic athlete, but I am still thinking of you as a gold medalist, at least in terms of the Grand Slam Explorer Park. Two more quick questions I have, and then I'm sure you have some other messages that you'd like to share with our audience. One is a quick question about how you do communicate when you are on the mountain, no cell service. How do you call for help?
Well, thankfully, there's a lot of modern technologies can help. So especially right now, almost everyone who go into the remote wilderness, we carry a GPS gear called the Garmin, or called the Enrich. that can send out the satellite signals to signal SOS. Then they can pinpoint where you're located, knowing you need help, you need rescue, so we can communicate with those devices.
So the device would beam out. Would that be beaming out 100% of the time while you're on the mountain, or just when you hit the button SOS?
When you hit the button, when you activate it.
Wow. And are there times when it doesn't work?
Well, if the cloud covers the whole sky, you cannot connect with the satellite. The signal may not go out.
Oh,
Sometimes
okay.
that happens. So you just have to have your faith and also keep on trying, because it's not constant. Sometimes it's just having trouble connecting, but you have to keep on trying. Then at some point, there's a breakthrough. You can
Well, I guess that goes with pre-planning and analyzing the risk beforehand also, right? If you think it's going to be cloudy or it's likely to be that way. I know you can't predict what happens with those storms up on mountains, but there are weather patterns, right? So I guess you would just avoid climbing on the most risky times. I have some other questions regarding risk, and I just want to give a little background. My dad was an entrepreneur. He had a food distribution business, which he started, and he had stockholders and bankers. And so I grew up sitting around the dinner table listening to my dad talk about his shareholders meeting or his negotiations with the bank or the union or whatever, right? So I was fortunate to have that. My dad used to call lawyers and accountants deal killers. He said they exist so they can earn their feedback, and they're going to tell you the risks, and they're going to kill that deal. You have to be careful about accountants and lawyers. Now, I don't believe that, Lee, because I've had many really wonderful deal facilitating accountants, tax strategists, lawyers, advisors, and mentors. But I did recently have a situation where one of my clients, where the adult children were taking over the business. A relative is a litigator, and the litigator sees things from the high risk. These are the 10 different ways you're likely to get sued on this thing, and kind of shared those risks with the adult children and basically spooked them. Killed the deal. I thought of my father at the time, but the lawyer was doing his job, and I reminded the adult child that that's the lawyer's job to tell you all the things that can go wrong. It's also your job as the decision maker to gather input from trusted resources. Your lawyer, your tax advisor. When you're climbing a mountain, I guess, your weather, your Sherpa, right? Your trainers and mentors. Talk to us about mitigating risks in business, because I don't want, as we know, most entrepreneurs, 60% fail within the first 5 years. So it isn't everybody who survives those risks, but if you do survive past 5 years, chances are you're going to make it. But what do you have to say about evaluating risks and reducing it? And then also about being a mentor and getting mentors.
Yeah, thank you. I think you brought to a very important skill set entrepreneurs or mountaineers both need to have is critical thinking skills. Because actually in this world, we have so many sources of information, even AI generated fake information. So we cannot just rely on one source or just trusting the source going to tell us everything. Ultimately, we have to rely on our own critical thinking skills, how we analyze different information. Like I said, about the risk, you need to understand probability about the consequence and evaluate what if this is wrong, how you're going to handle that. The same for any business information, business decision. You need to understand where this information comes from, what's their motivation behind providing this information, what might influence how they present this information. Because there are plenty business cases when people asking, okay, if I tell you the chance of failure is this, are you going to start? Then people, oh, no, I'm not going to. What if I tell you, say the chance of failure is 50%, but this is a most likely to succeed among everything because everything else even more likely to fail. Then you're going to, oh, now I'm going to change my mind, right? So it's about you understand the bigger picture, collect more information, understand how to analyze it, and also understand what a critical question you need to ask. So yes, you present a scenario to say, oh, this will fail. Then what you need to ask, okay, what is something I want to get out of this transaction or this deal or this business opportunities? What is something I can gain even if I fail? How much that worth to me? And what is some, like medicine, we have side effect, right? So business sometimes may not be, profit may not be the only goal. Maybe I'm willing to lose some money to build a foundation for my next stage expansion, right? That could be I'm using this platform to build my team capacity so they can be prepared for the next thing. So every business decision may not be the single driven factor of profits or money. There could be also there's long-term, short-term. So we have to have this critical thinking skills, understand the bigger picture. What do I really want to get from this? What else I might get? And what I can lose, what else I might lose beyond what they didn't tell me. And okay, maybe I don't know what they didn't tell me then. What question do I need to ask to get more information? Who should I ask?
Who?
What else I need to get to make a decision? I don't know how to make a decision. So maybe who I need to tap into to make a decision, or where else I can possibly research into. So there's a lot of questions we need to learn to ask, not just you present me one number. I'll say, okay, 50%, that's really not good. It's not enough information. There's so many things we don't know. This world is so big. We don't know what we don't know. So that also leads to the question about coaching. Because a lot of time about the personal growth, about building business, we know I did my best to bring myself to this stage, to bring my business to this stage, but I don't know what to do next. I can work hard. I'm going to learn everything. But what if there's another way someone can shine a light from a different angle, show you, hey, this is obviously a better solution or better way, or some different direction you can look into. How do you find out more information, more resource, asking better questions? If someone can guide you in a different direction, get you out of your own box, that's the value of coaching. So if we believe we don't know everything, then we should keep on be open to listen. Who else can get me out of this box, help me to see a different way? And those different perspectives worth much, much more money than you are just, all right, I'm going to work hard to make more money because, oh, coaching is very expensive. I don't want to invest in that. Think about the opportunity cost, how much you can get by investing in personal growth, investing in some coaching, some mentoring help. That will help you accelerate your business growth much, much more than you can get by just keeping the money in your pocket.
Right. And it's more than one coach, right? I mean, there are mentors for climbing Mount Everest. They're probably experts in the other mountains too, right? I mean, in business, I'm thinking about, well, I need a tax strategist. I need somebody to produce my financial statements. Financial statements, monthly profit and loss, and balance sheet is different than a tax strategist, but that advisor might be the same person, depending upon how big my matters are. But then somebody might need a sales and marketing coach, or may need a leadership development coach. Do you have a ideal picture in mind about how you choose your own mentors? And if you were helping one of your clients who had, say, a $10 million business, about how many mentors do you think people could benefit from having without it being too many cooks spoiling the kitchen?
Yeah, so that is a very important question because often I had a client asking me, how do I choose the perfect coach? How do I choose the best coach? The truth is you need more than one coach. And even on the same topic, you may need different coach at different stage. So don't fix your idea on finding the perfect one, the best one, the one and only one for your situation. At a different stage, you need a different coach and for different perspective, different side of your business or growth. So it always be clear what will be most valuable for me to get help on, which area I can grow most, have the most potential to grow, then who can help me on that? Even that person is not perfect on everything else, but he can help me on one thing, move me forward, then that'll be most valuable. And once I grow out of that stage, I need different coaches. For example, in my climbing, at beginning, I seek out all the skill coaches because I didn't know how to do the technical things. I need to learn how to manage rope, manage gear, how to move on the rock, how to camp, how to survive. Then later on, I realized, oh, I have the technical skills now. Now I need to work on people, get help on fitness because my fitness by myself, just training, running, get to a certain level, but I don't know how to train to the next level. How do I build up my strength faster, safely? And then need a different coach. Then later on, you find yourself actually when you are so capable, when someone can just touch one little thing, shift your mindset, that value is huge. Then sometimes you find it's a mindset coach who just by shifting one tiny thing, you think I have to put a value on this mindset shift, but you're going to realize they're going to change how you approach everything. That worth much more than someone to say, I have a business plan for you to change this, to improve on that. So we need value different improvement at a different stage in different ways. So for people who, as you said, someone who has a $10 million business, then depends, do you know your own weakness or not? If you don't know, you need someone to help you to see that first. Then you see, okay, which side is going to give me the best nudge? Like, it's my marketing, it's my strategy, it's my team capacity, or it's me? Because a lot of time I met a lot of leaders, they always think the problem is their team. They have the issue with employees. People have the working ethic problems. They have their how they're not motivated. The thing is, when we have employee problem, when we have a team problem, a lot of time it's our leadership, ourself, our mindset problem. If you cannot see that, you need someone to help you to see yourself. You need someone who can be brutally honest, to look into your eyes with love and tell you what's your biggest weakness. That kind of person worth the gold. And if you can, who can tell you that brutal truth, it's so valuable because once you get a higher and higher level, you're going to realize everyone else is going to say nice things to you. No one going to tell you, hey, sorry, there's a spinach in your teeth. No one going to dare to tell you that, right? So you need someone to be so honest to tell you, did you realize how you're treating your employees? That's why they're not motivated. Why you have retention problems? Why employees keep on want to leave? It's not their problem. It's your problem. So having coaches who can help you see yourself in the bright light with brutal honest, that's a rare thing you can find.
And you are a rare person too. I love it. And somehow or other, I have a feeling you could deliver that message with love directly, but it still empowers. So I can just imagine. Oh, there's so many more questions I have, but if somebody has more questions and they would like to get a hold of you and talk again about where they can buy your book or where they could book time with you if they want to, Lee, great book. I love it. And I will have some added closing comments, but I do want you to have a little infomercial here just to talk about if somebody wants to book you as a keynote speaker, buy a copy of your book, or try a coaching session or two with you, where would they go?
Sure. Please go to my website, mightymouthspeaker.com. There you can find my book. You can find how to book me for speaking. And also you can contact me to get on my calendar if you're interested in coaching with me.
Oh, great. I love that. I love that. Well, having a coach, I think, is so very, very important. I have clients who, in the beginning, there's two things that they can say to me that make me say, oh boy, I have a lot of work to do with this person. One is I'm so busy. I'm just slammed. Well, they can say that once or twice, or they can be really busy this week. Maybe they're moving, closing a big deal, having a baby, whatever. But being slammed, in my mind, is not a compliment, not a good thing in any way. It would be trying to climb a mountain when you're already exhausted and then you're not making the best decisions, right? So that's one way I can tell an amateur and somebody that I know I have work to do in the beginning. I try to avoid these people actually in the beginning. I try to go to people who are a little bit more evolved. But if they say they're slammed or just too damn busy or they're a workaholic, I know there's work to be done with them so they can reframe their opportunities and find ways to better leverage their time. The other thing that I can spot an amateur is when they say, oh, my employee, he's just useless, or that team or that division never does anything great. In my mind, that is the direct responsibility of the supervisor. Okay, maybe the first week of poor performance wasn't the supervisor's fault. It might have been training, coaching, parameters, tools. But if it goes on that the people are bad, then I know that the person at the top is the problem. Because with the right training, with the right support, tools, and team, you can pretty much do anything, climb the 7 summits. But without the right team, or without making a switch out of your mentors, guides, employees, Sherpas, shoes, equipment, when necessary, then you're going to fail, right? So it's the boss or the supervisor whose responsibility is to take out the bad apples and replace them with people who are going to be contributing members to the team. So nobody gets away with complaining about their staff for more than a month to me before I ask them if they've done a performance improvement plan or what is their plan about replacing this person.
Exactly.
Well, Lee, what's next for you? How do you envision your journey evolving? And I think this is a great question to wrap up this interview. What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your speaking?
Well, with my signature speech, Mighty Mouse Power, play big in a world that sees you small, I hope to inspire and empower more leaders to strive to play big in this world. So I want to see my legacy will be there are so many leaders that they can say they were inspired by me or they were supported by me, that they were able to move up their leadership influence and play a bigger role in this world.
Yeah. Well, you inspire me. Thank you so much, Lei Wang. I love it. I love you. I love your book. I love that you are launching this added thing, and we look forward to seeing you on stages around the world, 2025, 2026, and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patty.